For me, the fall is the time when I look at the sky, you know? It's a season extender for me when I gaze at the sky and watch the flock of birds. Because here, for whatever reason, here near the river, we are situated near the big river, Housatonic River in Connecticut. And all the birds, in the mornings, they have one way to go. And then in the evenings, they come back from wherever they're going. And I always want to find out what is happening with those birds. So in the fall, when the garden is getting kind of dreary and void of colors and flowers, looking at the beautiful sky is a way to go, you know? Although it's becoming cold and rainy. So today we are going to be probably inside the house, and I'm going to answer your questions. And I will address this issue of leaving YouTube for a short period of time. By the way, this is a jade tree, which I was talking about in my previous video about replanting. Look how small this pot is. So the other pot, which is still outside, I'm going to repot it and put it here. This one, look how outgrown this poor guy is. And this aloe, I temporarily put it for summer here from the inside, from the living room. But it grew so tall that it's not going to fit back into the living room. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. All right, the first question is from Terry Murphy. I'm so sorry, Terry, I didn't see your message. You posted it on the posts on YouTube. Okay, so Terry said, "Hi, Olga Carmody. I planted an heirloom climbing rose on each side of my arch along with clematis. The roses are in their third year and recently had a growth spurt. Weight of rain the past few days has caused these new shoots to fall away from the arch. My question to you is, do I just tie them in going straight up to the top, or do I somehow need to make some go horizontally? And what do I do once they get long enough to meet at the top? Thank you for your help. I love your channel, Olga." Well, Terry, it is so windy outside. I don't know if you can hear the noise of wind. Well, Terry, here's a picture, by the way. Terry posted a picture, and it looks like a lovely garden with clematis on one side and roses on another. The question is what type of rose it is and how big it gets, because the arch looks a little bit small. I must tell you, Terry, right away that looks like your rose is going to outgrow this arch pretty soon. So if you can, I would advise you to change the arch. I know it's difficult, and clematis is growing on another side, but you will be struggling with your rose. It already reached the top, and it is only its third year. So what you can do, if I can see that stems are not as stiff and sturdy on this climbing rose, so what you can do, you can try to train them somehow horizontally as close to the ground as you can, because I see that the bottom of the rose is quite bare. Some people are okay with it. I am okay with it. I have the rose climbing heirloom rose. It's actually almost like a rambler growing on the side of the house. And I don't like all that spindly growth at the bottom. I like it nice and clean, air circulation there. But some people don't like the bare feet of the climbing rose, so it's up to you. If I would be you, Murphy, I would train the rose around. First, I will change that arch, unfortunately. And I will train it as horizontal as possible. And then once the rose reaches top, you can just let it grow, or you have to trim it. Otherwise, you will have a nice bad hairdo day where rose will reach the top, and then it will reach in each direction, which is fine too. You can grow your rose like that. But I can predict that this poor thing, that this rose will outgrow its space, and you will be trimming your rose, and it's kind of working against the nature of the rose, right? So good luck, Terry. I'm sorry I didn't see your message. Second message is from Debbie. "Enjoying your videos. Thank you. Also, my tree peony recently started to drop leaves during this summer. So wondering if the heat caused this, or it's 27 years old." Wow. Let me tell you, tree peonies, when they are in their mature stage, they are the most magnificent things. This is an example from Ukraine. When I went to Ukraine to see my parents, I saw a tree peony growing there on the municipal property. Just look at this gorgeous thing. I stood in my tracks and I said, oh my goodness, how wonderful this tree peony is. So dropping leaves during this fall season is natural for the plant, right? But if it is happening in spring, summer, there is a reason for it. And we gardeners, we have to figure out what is the reason. Is there too much fertilizer? Because there can be many reasons which lead to leaf drop. That's like a mechanism, survival mechanism of the plant. Either the soil is waterlogged and the plant cannot sustain all of its system, right? So it drops leaves to survive. It can be drought. I'm not sure what's bothering your tree peony, especially when it is such an old one, 27 years old. Invasion of, I don't know, moles, invasion of some parasites, a disease, different way you treat your rose, too much of fertilizers. I don't know. I saw one gardener just discarding all the cement liquid under her favorite plant. And you know that cement is very alkaline, so it does change the pH of soil. And she was complaining that her rose is not doing very well. So I looked at her and I said, oh my gosh, that rose is suffering because pH is rising in that soil. So there's many reasons why leaf drop is happening. Heat stress, yes, you're right. It can be heat stress caused the cause of this problem. So you have to watch your tree peony, and it would be a shame if you would lose such a gorgeous 27-year-old plant. So do your homework, Debbie, and try to figure out for next season. If you have been looking for a ride that's stable, powerful, and easy to store, you might consider this Viribus FC2 electric folding tricycle. This is such a great tricycle for people who do not want to give up their freedoms. They still want to go out and explore the world. So look at me. I'm just putting my legs through the frame. I sit down on a well-cushioned seat. I do have my back support, and the tricycle is not moving anywhere because it's a tricycle that has 3 wheels. I can ride looking at nature and reach my destination. Plus, I can do all the transportation of goods on this tricycle thanks to very good compartments. This big one at the back, the rear one, and the front one. Wonderful. What I like about this trike is that it is equipped with great safety features. Here, through my back mirrors, I can see what's happening in the back. I don't need to turn around and look. 3 wheels are equipped with brakes. There are 7 gears. And the loveliest thing, and my husband, I know, he would be jealous of it when we are going for our rides, this battery. Because if you choose, you can use this tricycle as a tricycle, not electrical one, and you can pedal away, exercise, get those muscles in shape, or you can use pedal assist, where you pedal, but you have that nice, lovely push. Or you can relax altogether and use your battery. Battery does the job for you, and you are just gliding through, enjoying everything. You don't need to look where you're going. You don't need to balance like you're driving on the bike, right? You're riding a bike. This is a tricycle. Viribus company is kindly providing 5% discount on the purchase, so check the link in the description. And one more thing, the last wonderful thing. This tricycle is folding, so storage is great. It folds right here, and literally it becomes half of this size. Love it, because that's how I'm going to store it in my garage. Is it okay to put compost around the rows in the fall? I won't be fertilizing, just putting compost everywhere. Sheep compost specifically. It's from Mindy. Well, Mindy, you wouldn't be fertilizing. That's fine. Your rose is not going to be as big and as proliferous in blooms as it can be, because compost very often is borderline between fertilizer and soil amendment. So it's not really a strong fertilizer. It influences the structure of the soil, makes the soil better. So it's always advised to use also fertilizers, and it's a choice of the gardener, of course. If you decide to put only compost, you can do it year-round, but it's better to do it when microorganisms are active in the soil, when the soil is not frozen, and they are working through the compost to make it accessible to the root system of the plant, because compost has to go through all the working of microorganisms in the soil, and then all that is accessible for the absorption from the roots of the rose. So now is a good time, the fall, soil is still active, and it will be ready, that compost would be ready for the rose in spring. From Wendy: thank you, Olga. You are in a very rose-growing heaven here in Connecticut. I, on the other hand, have about given up on the idea of having a lush and beautiful rose garden here in Houston Zone 9B. Most of my roses have either been attacked by flower thrips, then chili thrips, black spot, and heat stress to the point of barely existing and looking pathetic or dying out completely. I must add that none of my roses were David Ostead, but rather antique old roses. However, my question is, in what size container do you grow roses? How do you care for them differently from in-ground roses, and how long can they remain in a container? Well, Wendy, I do have a good video about growing roses in containers, and the name of this video is Growing Roses in Containers. So please check it out, and I'm sorry to see your problems with roses. Maybe for you, if you're struggling so much with them growing in the ground, you can switch to growing roses in containers, and they can stay in containers for a long time. You would see when they are outgrowing their space, when the roots are, when you poke your hand and there are so many, not your hands, your fingers into the soil, and there's no soil but only roots. Sometimes it happens to the point where most of the soil is so densely populated by roots that you can't even put a hole in the soil with your fingers. Well, of course, you don't want to wait till that stage, but you can tell that the rose is outgrowing its container, and you can report it into a little bit bigger container, and then bigger and bigger, and rose can really grow all its life in the container, as long as the container size is equivalent to the size of the rose. Of course, we don't want to grow big climber in the container. The care would be almost prohibitive. You would always have to water it, fertilize it, and I am really for gardens which can take care of themselves. Of course, we can have those roses at the patio in pots to pamper them and enjoy them. So check this video, Growing Roses in Containers. I do give a lot of information there about caring roses in containers. All right, I think this is it for today. Oh no, one more, right? Yes. Hi Olga, I started growing roses this season and they have brought me so much joy. It's from your pal Madge. Your knowledge has been super helpful to me along the way. My biggest problem this season was sawfly larvae. I picked them off every single day, and the next day there would be more of them chomping on my babies. I grew most of my roses in containers this year, but I'm putting them in the ground in the next few weeks. Any tips on getting rid of these little jerks? Oops, sorry. So they don't eat my roses. I didn't see it coming. All right, your pal Madge. These little guys are a nuisance, these sawfly larvae. I know. And it's better to give them the battle when they are teeny tiny. What I do, when they are already starting eating our leaves, and those paper leaf effect, when leaves are eaten through just halfway and you can see the light, it's very unsightly, and I have a video about these guys right here. Check it out, sawfly larvae. So it's better to start the fight early in the season when the damage is not there, and the sawfly larvae are very small, and they are so teeny tiny that you barely can see them on the leaves. They like to hide along the ridges or along the edges. They have that little knowledge, And I usually spray them with either neem oil, horticultural soap. There are plenty of products on the market, and I'm going to put it into the description, my favorite ones. So if you spray the underside of leaves, you can get their nervous system. They will stop eating and they will die in several days. So that's what I do. Hand picking is Yes, it is good, but again, when they're teeny tiny, is the best time to attack them, and you can't really see them when they're very small. I do pick them when I miss them. I do pick them because I see the damage is done, so I go and start looking underneath the leaves, and of course I find one or two. So that's my best advice if you don't want to use systemic stuff on your roses, which I don't want to use because it gets into the system. Those sprays get into the system of the rose, and roses are blooming, the pollinators are coming in, so it's a big mess. Okay, your pal Madge, thank you for your question. And now addressing the issue of leaving YouTube for a while. Well, my dear gardeners, now is the fall. Garden is falling asleep, and I'm going to take a short break, maybe for several weeks, to do all sorts of things, and I will keep you posted. And I will be back probably before Thanksgiving with all the updates. So don't worry, I'm not leaving YouTube. I'm just taking a short break before Christmas, before the beautiful Christmas season. My dear gardeners, all the best to you, and I will see you soon. Happy gardening.